train a coming. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the sunshine. I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a rolling. All down the line I saw. All down the line. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns. I hear the train a coming. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the sunshine. I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a rolling. All down the line I saw. All down the line. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns. I hear the train a coming. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the sunshine. I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Keel Dyken. Thank you guys for tuning in to today's live stream. We have a special guest, but pretty much today's video is going to be about the brand new Tachyon 5G capable PC or single board computer. And today we have a special guest who will be joining us by the name of TerraPup. I've been trying to get him on the channel now for quite some time. It's been a while. So TerraPup, thanks for joining, man. Your microphone's muted.
So thanks for inviting me, and sorry our schedule never lined up in the past, but I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. TerraPup is, I don't think he really dabbles too much in retro gaming anymore, but he's a dev in the community. He's worked on a number of different projects. We met because I think, was it the X1, the UE2 X1?
It was either, I think it was either no, because the X1 came out before the R1. So yeah, we did start talking about the X1 because I don't think we talked when the the YY 3500 came out.
No.
So it was about that, and I think I was critiquing you or criticizing you something about it, but yeah, because like you said, I used to do a lot of retro gaming. Fun fact, Keo, it used to, well, I don't know if you still with Supreme Retro, and I actually started out with Super Retro, and if you were on Facebook, there was a huge competition between the two different images. You would run these on top of RetroPie. Anyway.
Yeah, so we met back in, I think, November or so of last year, and he's really knowledgeable, and it was really good because, when these new single board computers are coming out, maybe you can also speak on this too, but there's no one really knows what these things can do, especially with ARM. You know, if it's x86, it's kind of straightforward. You know, you can run Windows. You know what programs are going to run, looking at numbers and specs. But when it comes to these single board computers, it's like, well, let's see who's going to support it, and let's see what happens, and then that's when we'll come to a conclusion about what this thing can really do.
Right. And believe it or not, a couple of the small board makers don't like me because you'll like you said, you'll get a board and you think, okay, let's see who's going to support it. And the first thing, if I log or download an image, burn it, and it's the Leonardo, rock chip development, I'm like, oh god, we're already in trouble because they took Linux, bastardized it to be like an Android file system, and already you can't expand it, you can't do anything with it,
Right.
and you reach out to them, and look, I get it. Rockchip gives this to all the developers of these boards for free, so that they can get an OS on the board. But when you try to explain to them, it's like, hey, if you want something really good, use something like Armbian.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I will be happy to say that Igor did a trip earlier this year, and he posted that he's got Banana Pi now. They're supporting a lot of their boards, and it's kind of unofficial. I don't know if Armian's still upset with them, but Orange Pi, that's technically Armbian if you download their stuff. But yeah, you're exactly right, because I have behind me that, like, over here, this shelf, and there's probably a good 15 boards up here, and you would think someone like me would be running them, but it's it you get it, you try to use it, and then you're like, okay, what am I going to use this for? And
True.
as some of the conversations me and you have had, I try to set up, like, virtualization on board. So, like, this is a board where I'm running libvirtd on it, so that I can run, other ARM processors on it. I know a lot of people, they like the stuff for virtualization. And the board we're going to talk about today is interesting because it's the new hotness over all of IT,
Right.
and that's AI. So it's going to be kind of interesting when we go over the specs on this, because as some people will know, when you're looking at these boards and you want to do AI, you want to look and see, like, um, NVIDIA years ago with their Jetson series. It was all about the CUDA cores, because they
Right.
added their little graphics. Now it's about top
Okay.
TUPs and things like that. And so, as you probably know, and some other people aware, Google released their Coral development board to run with Raspberry that is a top processor, a TPU, to help with AI, and that seems where the market's going. So I know.
Yeah. No,
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah. I know the Pi 5 doesn't have anything mentioned, and we'll kind of get into specs. But for those of you just joining us, we're going to take a look at the brand new Tachyon. I'll show you guys what it looks like. I want to show some videos of what it can do. But this is the brand new Tachyon Particle 5G single board computer. I think the price on this is about $200. And before we get started looking at all the specs, I want to play a video. I guess it's the CEO of the company. The name of the company that's releasing this is called Particle. And this one really caught my attention. Now, normally a lot of single board computers, and I think a lot of people should kind of maybe use this practice. Everything can't be compared to a Raspberry Pi 5. Everything has its own specific use. And particularly with this one, I liked how they advertise it. They mentioned that it can do gaming, but this is made for industrial based work and also artificial intelligence. And I'm not really too up to keen or up to speed as far as how AI works on a single board computer. It just kind of figured out how emulation works on some of these single board computers. So now we have something else now to tackle.
Well, hold on. Let's stop real quick before you show the video. AI is kind of like cloud computing. It is a marketing term because it's not really artificial.
Okay.
Really, the correct term should be trained intelligence, because this board, even, and I think down the road people are going to have to pick up on this. But the only reason stuff is able to do what it's doing is you train it. And that's what gives it the ability to take input from users, see what they're doing, and compare it to stuff it's been trained with. So, sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine because AI, like cloud, it's a big marketing term, but essentially what people have done is they've taken code and done machine learning to teach these programs to think, well, not really think, to process the questions that you give it and to create or give back feedback. So again, it is somewhat artificial, but it's TI, it's trained intelligence. But go ahead.
Okay. So is that the terminology people in your industry prefer?
No, that's people who are old and cranky geeks like I am. Okay, because it's like, look, when cloud computing started, everybody essentially cloud computing, and I'm going to make this very brief because I could go on for hours, but essentially cloud computing is where you took a group of computers, you grouped them together, and you would do high computing with it, and each computer was known as a drop, or a raindrop.
Right.
But people took that and they're like, we can use that as a marketing. And then that's when they made virtualization, like what, the Amazon, the Azure that So, but no, I've been working at where I work at. We set up some machine learning machines. I'm not a programmer, but basically they would, it's like if you see someone and they're doing like the whole holding this up, and
Right.
they type in Python code and they say square, and then if they hold this up, it should come back and say not a square. Okay, so you start teaching, not a square, square. Okay, and then after a while, if you hold something, I don't have anything else that's square like. Oh, actually, I do. You hold something up like this, it'll say, not a square. So you teach it how to use it. In fact, NVIDIA Jetson, part of their dev kit was where you would hook up cameras as part of their initial AI, where you were teaching it to do face recognition, so you get and actions and stuff like that. But you're training this software on responses and things like
I
that.
see.
So that's why I would prefer we use the term. But again, and there's several people do agree with me that we should use the term TI over AI, because look, if it was AI, Sarah Connor, the Terminator, Skynet would all be happening right now, and we know how that ends up, because as soon as AI determines that we don't need humans anymore, there's so many movies. But go ahead.
Oh, definitely. No, that's a good. I like that terminology, trained intelligence. I definitely like it. So I'll try to add that to my vocabulary and stuff in my videos from now on. So what we're going to do now, we're going to play because we want to make sure that you guys have a better understanding from the company as to what this is. And I'll explain later what really caught my attention about this single board computer. But before we do that, let's go ahead and play this video. Let's hear what they have to say, and then we'll continue forward. I think this video is like 4 minutes long.
A computer. Well, maybe not a computer you're used to.
All right, hold on. Let me make sure audio's coming through because I did set this up for audio to come through, and I don't want you guys to miss out on anything. All right, hold on. Let me make sure audio's coming through because give me 1 second here. I'm going to share the screen again. Let's see the entire screen. Should be to share audio tab screen instead.
Yeah, I heard it when you started playing it, and then it went
Yeah, it was
silent.
coming through my microphone. That's strange. I had that setting. All right, so let's try it now.
All right.
But it'll totally open the pod bay doors. With something this small, this portable, and this capable, the only limit to what you can do is your own imagination. From the creators of your favorite IoT development boards comes Particle's fastest, most powerful, most intelligent product yet. Introducing Tachyon, the future of the Internet of Things.
Hi, my name is Zach, and I'm the founder of Particle. And this is the Tachyon, the world's first 5G connected, AI accelerated Internet of Things single board computer. Now, before I tell you this story, I have to tell you this story because Particle started 10 years ago as a company called Spark, building a development board for Wi-Fi connected IoT products. We launched this on Kickstarter a decade ago. And what we figured out was that the kinds of things you wanted to do with this were way broader than we thought. We wanted to make it as easy as possible to build a prototype of an IoT product. And we believed that every product starts as a prototype. So if we made it easier for folks to get off the ground, then we could help them go from that first prototype to a product at scale. And that is exactly what's happened. Particle these days powers everything from hot tubs to air conditioners to vape detection systems in high school bathrooms. We're in methane emissions monitoring systems for oil and gas, for agriculture, for waste management. We are monitoring lobster boats for the Maine Department of Marine Resources. We are the access control systems for Anytime Fitness, for Mamava. We do stormwater management, water level monitoring. We do air quality monitoring. Pretty much anything that you can think of happens with Particle. And I can tell you that 99% of those use cases and applications, we had no idea that folks were going to build with Particle. And we want to do that again, but this time with the Tachyon. So what makes this product different, this and the things that we built since, are microcontrollers. They're small embedded systems designed for controls and sensors and things like that. And there's a lot of applications for that. But then this is a much more powerful system. The Tachyon is a Linux powered system that has a 5G connection. It has 8 cores of CPU, an octa-core processor. It's got a fast GPU, a neural processing unit that can do 12 TOPS. This is a pretty beefy product, and it has the memory and flash that you need to power the whole application. We wanted to take all of this technology, basically a smartphone, essentially put it in a single board computer, and then make it easy for anybody to take this modern tech and build an AI-driven product. But while we are going to be building all the infrastructure, we're going to do what we need to do to make it easy to deploy Linux to the device and to push out over-the-air software updates, to handle basic secure collection of data, things like that. We'll build out that infrastructure, but we also want to make it as easy as possible for folks to build the kinds of applications that you're going to build. And while we know that you're going to want to do object detection with cameras and audio classification of audio streams, we want to know more about what you want to build. So back at the Kickstarter campaign, get a Tachyon, and then tell us what you're going to build, because we want to make it as easy as possible for you to build that product, for you to solve that problem, and get whatever you're trying to build out into the world for real. So back to campaign, and let's figure out the future of the Internet of Things together.
All right, well, that's pretty much the video. So what are your thoughts on it?
All right. Well, so maybe this is the same thing that caught your eye, because when I saw this about 4 weeks ago, was the G5 card on it. The having the wireless like it is really, really cool. And it'd be nice to build some stuff that's mobile. Like, okay, let's use retro gaming. So that's something both you and I have done. let's say we got RetroPie going on there and we wanted to play Mario Karts, and
Right. Okay.
we could share out the game and people could join, remotely, and it would be cool. Using it to do other things, maybe like having it on a 3D printer, so you don't have to have like Octoprint or something like that. You could connect to it. It would be awesome. But I think where a lot of people are going to use this is probably setting it up with cameras, probably putting it in places where they could do security cameras, or
Right.
places like that. But no, the wireless feature really caught my eye. What caught your eye? Because you said you were going to mention that.
So the one thing that caught my eye about this board was one, the price tag. I think it was 200 to 149. I know the Kickstarter, I think the price may be a little bit lower. They do have a Kickstarter right now. This is if you guys want to join, but I believe the price is a little bit more than this. But what really caught my attention is I was looking at the CPU setup. Typically, some of these boards now, if you guys are familiar with the RK3588 and some of the other boards that are out there, they use even numbers. So you have your quad core setup, or you'll have something in a 2x6 format, where if it has 6 cores, it has 4 big ones and maybe 2 small ones, or in some cases they'll have 8 cores, like a RK3588, which like the Banana Pi uses, and also the Orange Pi 5, and the Rats was a Rock Pi 5B. They have 4 big ones and 4 small ones. And what caught my attention about this really odd number is that it has 4 smaller cores operating at 1.9 gigahertz, and then it has 3 at 2.4. Then you have this one little chip over here, or one little core by itself, operating at 2.7 gigahertz. Never seen that in this type of format, and I'm not sure if this is running big little technology.
Let's assume they're trying to do it. But did you notice something? Look how maybe this is a Snapdragon thing versus Rock chip. That one core that caught your eye, it's called a Gold Plus. Then
Okay.
they have the 3 gold, like you stated, and 4 silver, and the 3 gold are actually slower. So that one that caught your eye is the fastest processor
Right.
of this, at 2.7 gigahertz. So that's interesting. You think, like you were saying with the Rock chip, using the big little architect, they would have the less powerful core, even cores, okay, with an even number of high power. Normally, what is it? A53s with 4 A53s and then 4 A57s. I believe it is.
Yeah, it's usually 2, 4, 6, because some type of even combination is never an odd number.
Right. But then again, I don't know about you. I've never worked with Snapdragon. I'd like to get one of their kits, but their one ARM kit that they've been selling is like $500, and that's a lot of money to drop on a dev kit that may have support. Going to back at our beginning conversation, may have support for 6 months,
Right.
and then you're sitting there with piece of hardware. And I don't know about you, I don't like putting stuff in landfills, so I try to figure out ways I can continue using these until they like die. So
Yeah, so a couple of things too that had my wheels turning is I was thinking maybe this one particular core is dedicated to their AI technology. Like maybe they have something running specifically and it's dedicated for that. The
well,
other
they got
thing,
12 tops there, and that would be dedicated to the AI. Okay. And that's a lot of tops for a single board processor. Well, no, the Jetson Orion, that's what, a $2,000 board. Yeah,
this was
that's got,
$2,000.
I think so. It's one of those way up there. It's not a cheap board. It's not like the 4 gig. I can here. You know what? Let me look up the price. But that's got 20 tops. But the other thing about that one is you got CUDA cores that help out a lot. Let me look up the price of that.
All right. Yeah. So then also too, I was just kind of brainstorming: is would it be possible to integrate the trained intelligence into something like a gaming front end? So again, this isn't made specifically for gaming, but it does have that capability. But it just had me wondering because we all know this is the direction that technology is going in, and how we could possibly integrate it in that way. But you know, just out of curiosity, I would just be wondering how, we typically call it AI, but trained intelligence would benefit us maybe from gaming standpoints and single board computers, even in that genre. I haven't seen it yet. I think a lot of this is kind of new as to possibly how we could integrate it. But I don't know.
All
I'm really
right.
curious about this one. This one has me anxious to see what it can really do.
Okay. If the board that you have up there, if that's the development board, um, that
The
one,
Jetson.
yeah. So because the normal Jetson 4, okay, the Nano 4, yeah, that's $200.
Okay.
But they do have one it's very sweet. That's like $2,000. Okay.
Right. So there's something else about this board now. It doesn't say it specifically, but I couldn't see if this said if it was big little technology, but I'm assuming that this is a ARM based chip, right?
Well, it's Snapdragon. Yeah, it's definitely
Okay.
on.
Because I've never seen some of these other boards list Windows 11 as a possible OS. Ubuntu, yes. Android, which is kind of a dead giveaway for saying it's ARM because you won't find an x86 that really runs Android or whatever. You have Qualcomm Linux. Linux could be ARM or x86, but it is integrating Windows 11. Now, Windows 11 isn't the most optimized system for ARM per se, but however, they do have it listed here.
So again, Snapdragon has a development board, and Microsoft is the one selling it. It's about, I want to say about $800.
Mm-hmm.
Could be $500, but it is. I want to say it's either Windows 11 or Windows 12, and it is a development board for Windows on ARM. Um, Jeff Geerling, he has shown it, and I went and took a look at it. It's quite expensive, but again, the Snapdragon is supposed to be one of the fastest ARM chips out there. Okay,
Right.
so yeah, I'd really like to see how they get it. The only thing that your storage, it shows 64 gigs, is that eMMC. Is there, here, let me look, because you shared out the sheet with me. That's not a lot. We all know for Windows that's not a lot, because
Right.
you can easily fill that up. And
My biggest gripe about Windows is you have to add it to the onboard storage. You can't install it to another external or USB drive
um really,
unless there's a
because
unless there's a workaround for it. Because everything that I've worked on, I can't use like my portable SSDs or as a USB drive. It has to be through the M.2 slot or it has to be
oh,
over
okay.
eMMC.
Sorry, I was going to say yes. The M.2, I've had success. SD, I wouldn't run it on SD. It's just too slow.
Well, if you have the T9s or the T7 Samsungs, those are much faster than most of the M.2s that are out there.
Yeah, and the specs that you shared out with me, there is nothing about external storage or anything. So yeah, and so that's kind of interesting. Okay.
Right. All right, take a look at some of the other specs that this board has to offer. The PCIe has 2 lanes, Gen 3. Obviously, we kind of covered some of the chips. It has 1 Gold Plus at 2.7 gigahertz, 3 at 2.4 gigahertz, and 4 smaller cores, 1.9 gigahertz. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with this type of architecture, it's not listed as big little, but you can't overclock these. This is locked in as is, and you know, technically you probably can, maybe a point or two, but you're not supposed to because the system self optimizes itself, so it's not geared for you to have to tinker around with anything. Memory storage 4 gigabytes. I guess that's the only model they have. They don't have up to 8. Okay, that could be an
Yeah,
issue.
but at least they're using the LPDDR, so instead of being single threaded like a lot of the older boards, the LPDDR4 will give you dual channel, and that's why if you notice a lot of the newer boards we're getting, they playing videos, playing games actually responds better because instead of having that monolithic heap of memory, it's able to access both chips. So I guarantee they probably have two gig chips on the board since they're using the LPDDR4, and that really speeds up response time.
But even still, like Ubuntu and Windows requires, like even when I was using Ubuntu on the Rad X4 and some of these other boards, those operating systems require at least 3.7 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah, you're right, and I guess here's where me and you'll differ a little bit. But yes, Ubuntu really does want that because GNOME, another pet peeve of mine, GNOME really wants memory resources. That's why boards like this or less, I like to run XFace on it because XFace is not a memory hog
Right.
and all that. But yeah, dude, I see what you're saying because your desktop is going to eat most of the memory, and if you fire off I don't know, PlayStation 2 or no, I wouldn't even try PlayStation 2. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put it this way: I had Windows 11 running on some other single board computers here, Ubuntu and Windows 11, and before I could really do anything, I only had 200 megabytes free, so I couldn't run full test on those 4 gigabyte boards because I was already limited in resources using that operating system. Now, obviously, with Linux, I had about maybe 2 gigs free because it doesn't require as much system resources, but I wasn't able to fully get the full test out of it using like 3D Mark and other various programs because I was already limited in those OS environments.
Right. Hey, quick question for you. Do you have listed on here what the GPU is that they're going to be using? Because that would be interesting to see as well. I mean, is it going to be a Mali, one of the latest Malis? Is it going to have Vulkan support, OpenCL, OpenGL?
Yeah, and that's the thing. They don't have that listed here in their spreadsheet.
Huh. Okay.
This is their official spreadsheet. I did not type this. This is theirs. This is what they have listed, and they don't even have the GPUs of some of their other competitors listed here. But it has their decoder, but it doesn't mention the name of their GPU. So
yeah, but let's be honest. I know I'm going to get in trouble with Da over at Libra Computers, but some of the older Libra computer boards can do H.265. That's nothing to brag about. Okay.
right.
You would want. Hopefully, they had like one of the newer Mali chips, like Orange Pi, as you and I both know, and even the actually UE2s. Even there are the Mali chips in those are so nice.
Yes, they are.
I've been able to get. I don't know about you, but I get 2K broadcasts on my 1080p monitor here with no stutters. Think about this. 4 or 5 years ago, we couldn't do that. We would have to drop it down. I don't know about you, but sometimes I had to drop it down around 360p just so I could get a decent video to stutter. So,
okay, I did find some more information here. So,
cool.
On the memory, they do have 4, 8, and 64 gigabytes of memory,
and 128. Oh,
Yeah,
that
and the
that
128. So that's perfectly fine. I'm glad I looked at this instead of looking at that spreadsheet.
yeah.
So if you are planning on using Ubuntu or Windows, you're going to need 8 gigabytes of RAM or higher. This is the GPU here. I have no idea what the specs are. A Adreno 643 GPU and 12 flops AI accelerator.
Okay, that's a new one on me. I've never.
Is this a new GPU accelerator?
I don't know. Like I said, I've only heard most small board makers love Mali, and they like to put that in there. So it'd be kind of interesting to see um, what makes that. So hold on.
All right, so the core speed on it is 812 megahertz.
Oh,
So
that
that's more powerful than what you would find on your N100 mini PC, which would come. I mean, I know it's a little different, but it's 750 is typically what you would find. So these are the specs here.
yeah.
It
Now I
clocks in at
see.
812 megahertz. So
Well, now I understand why they're running Windows 11 on it because they actually got a GPU that can actually support Windows 11. That makes
and
sense.
and what's the GPU again on the RK3588? Isn't it like 700 something
The arcade.
on the Mali GPU?
Hold on, I'll look that up
Maniac, if
real
you
quick.
remember what it is offhand, I don't. It slips my memory right now. I know it should be somewhere around like 700 or something.
It's the Mali G610.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll put this in chat for you. Okay.
Core speed 812 megahertz. Yeah, 6,499 points on a 3D Mark test.
You know,
the rock chip.
I wonder if this is unique to the Snapdragon. Okay, because again, rock chip, all winner, AM Logic, even Raspberry Pis, Broadcom, they tend to lean heavily towards the Mali. So I wonder if this is a Qualcomm, because remember, um, I want to. I'm probably wrong, but isn't the Google Pixel? Doesn't it use the Snapdragon? And everybody rants and raves about how well the video support on the Pixel is.
You know, that's a tricky one because remember, a lot of that has to do with the OS. When we look at, and I know this is a whole different subject, and I don't want to get too far off on it, but for those of you watching, when we see a lot of Geekbench scores and a lot of test results, a lot of times we think it's primarily the single board computer, but a lot of that is factored in through the OS. And that's why you have so many different variations if you run a Geekbench test or some of these other tests, is because somebody could be using a different OS on it that could fully complement. Like, for example, you could run more on a Raspberry Pi 4 or 5 using Android than you can Linux. You could run Switch, perfect emulation on an RK3588, but we have problems compiling it in a Linux environment. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not sorry, I'm still looking at the specs, but no, I understand what you're saying on that. So, all right, cool.
let's back up here. Let's see. Words, facts. But no, I'm really glad to see that they do have different RAM variations because that did kind of concern me on this spreadsheet. That really did concern me. Let me ask you a question because this is something
Sure.
that has been kind of debated about, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So, all the single board computers advertise 4K 60 frames per second on video display, or even some cases of the RK3588, like the Orange Pi and other single board computers, they advertise 8K 30 frames or 8K 60 frames per second. There are some gaming companies that also advertise this when they say, hey, like ad games, they have the Zen pinball stuff and they advertise 4K 60 frames per second or HD or whatever the case might be. Is that display or is that actual performance? and then no company has ever really commented on that. And I think they should probably be careful, because when most people see 8K or 4K display or output, they're also thinking 4K 60 frames per second performance. Because I've ran some 4K 60 frame per second videos, and the boards didn't live up. So, what are your thoughts on this in terms of what this really means?
Well, okay, back in the early days, my understanding was it was the output of the boards. Good example, the Odroid X4U and the Asus Tinkerboard stated that they could do 4K. And I
Right.
know that when I hooked that up to any of the TVs that I had in the house, I only had a 1080p.
Right.
I never could get them to work right. But if I went to, I had one Dell monitor that was a 2K at the time. It was still a problem, but it would actually work. So I think it's the output from the boards. Now, I don't have anything in the house that I could plug up, that has 8K that I could plug up.
Right.
I can tell you that I have a Dell 34-inch ultra wide monitor that I freaking love. It's one of the curved ones.
Mhm.
I'm running my Orange Pi 5 Plus, 32 gig. Okay. And I have it on the 34 and I have a 24 hooked up, and it is handling it quite nice. So yeah, I think it's the output. Okay.
Oh, you
And
think it's the output?
yeah, I think it's the
Okay.
output. Someone probably knows better than me, but I'm saying that because, like I said, the um, the Dell supposedly supports 4K,
Hmm.
and I've been watching YouTube on there, like I do with a PC, and it's been working nice. Now, the only problem I have, and I need to uh, download like Ubuntu, because it has the 3D acceleration packages where normally I run Debian, just because I've had issues in the past working with Ubuntu. I go to update and things would break, but I noticed in the Debian it won't let me play 3D games because it's stating that there's not a lot, or there's not the acceleration packages. Now, I'd love to see. Okay, so they're saying you can run Ubuntu on this. The the only problem I have with Android, and this is a question for you: does it irritate you that you'll download, install Android, it looks beautiful, but trying to get Google Store working on it
Yeah.
is a freaking nightmare, so you really can't test it out? And I wish they'd stop that.
Yeah, because from my understanding, the store is you have to be an officially licensed board or part hardware, whatever the case might be, to have the official store on there. So
Hmm.
you have to use workarounds to kind of, I guess, sideload it in a sense, to sideload the store on there. So like even when you see stuff like there's been a few RetroPie images, and even I think it's what is the name of it? Not Shinobi. It's that other gaming front end. That's I can't think of the name of it, but
Baccalaureate.
no, it's like Shinobi or something for the art for the orange, no, for Android, where you have emulation station and stuff. I can't think of the name
Remember,
of it.
I've been out of the scene for a
Okay.
while, so I'll have to go look at it. I mean, I just installed Baccalaureate the other day, and I was kind of impressed with how it works. Normally, I'll use Recall Box just
Right.
because I'm lazy, and plus, hell, RetroPie hasn't done a freaking update in how many years?
Oh, I know, right? Here,
Oh,
I want to find the actual name of that program so you guys.
yeah, I'd like to see it too.
let's see here. I'm gonna find the actual name of it so I'm communicating it correctly. But yeah, with that one, you have to add on the store place in order to add on additional stores. I know a lot of the guys that work with emulation station, they do some of the other things, but they've actually loaded it on there themselves. But there's this particular way that you have to go through several different steps in order to add it.
You know, are you good friends with Steve Lambo?
Yes, I am. I haven't spoken to him in a while.
Yeah, I would say if anybody knows what you're asking about, he would. Okay, because Steve, you know, hell, what was the last time he pinged me? He's like up to 200 different emulations that he can compile on a given, like on Aries and all that. I'm amazed because I'm sitting here going, there are 200 different types of consoles out there in the first place. But yeah, he would probably know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the name of it. Man, I can't believe it. It slipped on my. Let me see. Google emulation, retro gaming front end. It's not. Oh, Daijai Show. Oh my gosh, I was so far out. Yeah, Daijai Show. So Daijai Show, I believe you have to have that installed in order to download all the emulators and all the games and stuff on it. But it's a cool front end. I actually love it. But yeah, so this question of the whole display thing, I wish some of these single board computer manufacturers would clarify it, because it doesn't say is that performance. I've actually added videos that have been 4K 60 frames and also 8K, and they perform terribly. I did a video on it, and that's one of the questions that's still kind of lingering, is because they don't specify is that actual performance or just a video display. Because what would be the point of having a video display that's 4K 60 frames or 8K if it's not playing back videos that are rendered, in my opinion, at that frame rate? And even when you use like YouTube, for example, like let's say if I make a YouTube video showing one of these boards running 4K or 60 frames, it's all compressed. If I need to show a true, like if I show an 8K video, that's probably 4K. If I show you a 4K video on YouTube, it's probably 1080p, and vice versa. It downscales because they compress it so much. But those are pretty much my concerns on that.
Well, and then you got the opposite side. Remember, a lot of times, like in the early days when you were playing 480p, standard TV shows on a 720 or 880p monitor, and you were upscaling it, it didn't look great. So you probably could see, if you took something old like that and try to play it, and if it looks bad, that they're trying to upscale it. So yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, because like I said, I render a specific 4K 60 frame and 8K videos, and the Orange Pi couldn't handle it. The Raspberry Pi 4 and 5 couldn't handle it. I mean, and then we'll have video reviews showing what the YouTube version could play, but it's not a representation of 4K or 8K video because it's compressed. So
yeah, that's true, because some of the video stuff that I've done with the Rock chip, I'll go grab like Neuralwave 4K train rides, and it looks stunning.
Right.
There's no skipping, but that if you did Geeks, stats for Geek, it's not really the same.
Yeah, true.
But here's the question. In the video that you played where the guy was talking about that, I remember Spark from years ago, when they initially released it. I don't know many people who did much with Spark, but he mentioned that they will be building an infrastructure, and they'll be putting the OS on there. Does that mean we can't connect to it and flash an OS on it, or put an SD card on it? Do we have to use, like, I know you said you didn't know Casa, but Casa's got their wow.
Right.
Okay, that you boot up, and then you can select the OS, install Petty Boot, for Android is another one that you can go out and select and install. So is that how they're going to deliver it to you? This is me putting like my, infosec, security hat on. I don't like it when I have to rely on a third party, or sorry, not a third party, but a vendor's website, because man, in the middle, I could be malicious, put something up and have people install something. I mean, look, me and you both have gotten boards with pre-OSs on it, and they act weird, and we see where they're going, and we go and wipe them because we don't want our data going, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
I've seen a few things.
yeah, so that concerns me a little bit, because he did mention, they're going to have the infrastructure. I know, I like how they flash Zelda and then cover it up real quick. That that company would go after them in a heartbeat, because they're going after everybody doing retro gaming stuff now.
Yeah, you know what? I don't even know why they mentioned that. I mean, or I would have to show it. I mean, I think it's a given. And I've told people this in the past. I have friends running a lot of retro games on an old
Mm-hmm.
Nokia from 2005. So it's a given now that any technology, any computer you see nowadays could run, we'll say Super Mario Brothers, to say the least. We know it could run
Right.
it. So it's a given. It's not a, but is it dedicated? Because I even know people had the Zuma board that I had. So what was wondering, could it do retro gaming, and I ran PS2 on it just fine. Um, but yeah, that is a question to be asked as far as what OS are they going to use. Is this their own operating system here? This Yocto. I
So
wonder if they developed
Yato,
their own OS for that.
no, Yato has been around for a while. Hold on. It's kind of like um, Manjaro.
Okay.
God, why am I swear I must be getting dementia.
Yeah, I was drawing a blank myself earlier.
It's not Gen 2. Who's the one that everybody likes to compile?
What, Debian? Armbian?
No, freaking it's gonna eat me alive, but it's the one that uses Pac-Man as the management tool. Okay. But Yato is an open source collaboration project, and if you do a lookup on it, it's actually from the Linux Foundation group. So it's probably another one like Leonardo. Leonardo years ago came out and um, you know did a thing where they could develop for ARMS. Okay, real quick, let me go. Rats up. Let me go because
I'm really curious as to why they haven't developed their own OS for it. I mean, this looks like a really powerful single board computer. You would think that they would have their own OS for it and not really depend on third parties to really provide support for it.
because you first of all, if you want to keep the board, viable, you have to have a development team.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are not going to eagerly go out and try to work with something new. They're going to want to work with something that is established. Okay, trust me. Years ago, people didn't want to work with Ubuntu.
Right.
But because of Mark Shuttleworth's marketing, where if you wrote him and said, hey, I got a lug group, send me 100 discs, he would send you 100 discs, because he knew that out of that 100, maybe 20 or 30 people would start working with it, and those 20 and 30 people would pass the word along. and it was a great marketing ploy. I mean, right now, if you were going to develop a board, if I were them, I would reach out. And yeah, I have a little bit bias for this group, but I would reach out to Armian. I would give those
Yeah.
guys some of the boards and say, "Hey guys, here's the board. Can you?" Because for those of you out there, if you ever want, if you get a board and you want to support it, and you know enough on how to do builds, Armian actually has a thing where you can go build for boards. I'm too busy, but one of my things I'm hoping to do here in the future is sit down, because some of the older boards I want to go and try doing that. Okay, but
Right.
anyway, yeah. Why would you, again, getting back to your question? Why would you want to develop your own OS when there's like Fry, which is Chrome OS, Ubuntu, which has so many version.
So
Hell, go ahead.
yeah, so for me that then brings another question. If I'm advertising this right now, I'm not just talking about it, maybe just showing some basic videos. I'm going to show comparison videos with Ubuntu. This is Ubuntu on the Orange Pi 5, this is Ubuntu on the Raspberry Pi 5, and this is how much better and faster our board runs with that. Since it's not their own operating system, then they're in a position to show how current OSs and current programs would run adjacent to their competitors. That would be a better advertising than what I'm saying, because looking at this and at the back, I'm thinking like all of this is brand new. Like this is a brand new board. Maybe they got their own custom firmware, their own custom OS. But as of now, they're in a position to show the Orange Pi 5, show the Raspberry Pi 5 running Ubuntu, showing some other various programs, how fast they run, show some Geekbench numbers, even though I don't really trust in those, and then compares it. They're in that position considering it's not their own custom OS.
Yeah, and um, I get that, but here's an advantage. Okay, think about this. If you release the board and it's open source, you have more people who will back it, support it. People, when they see something is closed source,
Right.
okay, they tend to get very defensive. By the way, Arch Linux, that's what I was
Oh,
thinking
okay.
about. Arch Linux. So, but no, to your statement, yeah, it would be awesome having a rock chip, uh, the NVIDIA, um,
Jetson.
Jetson, and one other board, because they all run Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Okay, and like you said, do a comparison. I wouldn't. We need to get away, like you said earlier, away from Geekbench. We need a
Yep.
better matrix, okay, so that we can actually show the power of it. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point. And like I said, the company's in a position to show their own custom OS. And I mean, even if they had their own OS that was closed source, they would have it's something specific for this board, which is what I thought maybe they will also be providing. Maybe they have some additional programs, and it doesn't have to be closed source. It could just be maybe it's installed on a partition of the eMMC, something else, and then of course you have the option to install whatever OS you want to on there as well.
Hey, go to the Kickstarter page, because here's a pet peeve of mine. Let's go look at this.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is it.
This is it. Okay. Keep scrolling down.
Here, let me.
Okay. We got an antenna, that we have the board, USB cable. Okay. Stop. Power supply. So already we're in the RATSA area, because, RATSA, they want that proprietary 30-watt power supply. This uses a 35-watt power supply. Okay, there's their spark plug. Keep going down, and I'll tell
When
you.
you say the RATSA power supply, which board are you referring to that uses it?
All of theirs, dude. Like, here, hold on.
Oh, you talking about like the X2L, the X4, the Palm Shell?
Yeah, like, look. Here's a a Ratsa Rock 5A. Okay, I have to have that 30 watt power supply
Right.
in order to run it. The B. So again, this is going to be a little bit of a pet peeve because look, I like um the fact that in the old days you could go grab a Raspberry Pi and you could run up to the 4 with a micro USB. Okay. If you could go to Micro Center anywhere, you could buy one for $7. The 5, with their new 23 watt, it's a little bit more expensive. But keep going down. The one thing I'm looking for, okay,
Man,
just do a search.
This thing goes up to 219.
Well, the
That
one
was an
thing
early
that,
bird.
yeah, the one thing that's not on there, and this is a pet peeve of mine, where's the case? See, look, me and you, we've had side conversations about these new boards come out, right? And people, they want to get an audience.
Yeah.
Talking about UE2, they release a board, they'll release an acrylic or metal case. Other boards, the community will release a 3D model because, like the Ratsa, I couldn't use this thing until I got this 3D case, and that's a pet peeve of mine. I could run it on a piece of foam, but I just don't like doing that. And I'd like to have a board that has accessories. Most of the stuff they list over there is nice, but why does Raspberry Pi flourish? They have accessories. Look at how many companies support it. Now, I've been lucky enough to, and I really need to update my website, where I will take boards and based on the configuration of the board. It's kind of getting dark here. I'm going to probably put my headset down so I can turn lights on. I'm not on the West Coast like you. The sun's going down. But anyway, it's accessories. So this is going to come out. It's going to be very nice. But if you don't have a case or a 3D model that you can print, automatically that's going to turn a lot of people off. Quick story, and then I'm going to turn my light on. Years ago, I went to, actually it was last year. So last year for my birthday, I was going to go buy another Asus Tinker board. And I think I went to pick up the R. It was their $219 board. I bought it. I got it home. I went up to Amazon. Couldn't find a power supply for it.
Right.
Couldn't find a case. OSs hadn't been updated in 2 years. I brought it back, and the young kid who helped me out, I'm real good friends with a lot of the salespeople at Micro Center. I was like, dude, I hate to do this to you because I know you guys get paid on commission, but I got to return this.
Yeah.
I can't use it. So the Kickstarter looks great. I hope they get it out on time. There's lots of nice little programming things here, but the one thing as Joe Average is going to complain about is there's not a case.
And actually, I will tell you guys this too. I've mentioned this to some of you. If you guys know this on Patreon, we're doing development. Supreme Team's doing development on the the Ratsa Rock Pi 5C. Use the RK3588 variant or whatever. And the holdup, as you guys have heard me, has been the case. And there have been other single board computers that have either been sent to me or that I've purchased, and other developers. The biggest drawback, you got to have cases. And why do you need to have a case? Is because if a developer is working on it, they do not want to accidentally bump it, hit it, knock it over, and there's no way to physically protect it. So if developers, if you're listening and watching this video, the companies, You have to make a case if you want community involvement. It's already hard enough not being able to walk into a store, buy one of these, quickly replace it if there's a manufacturer's defect or whatever. We order all this stuff directly from Amazon, AliExpress, and other various sources, various places. We have to wait a week, 2 weeks,
A
source
month.
our own, yeah, a month, source all this stuff. And then, oops, what happened? I accidentally, maybe I accidentally knocked it over or whatever the case might be because it's not protected. You have to have a case for all of these single board computers.
Well, not
If
only that, the case, like you're saying, but have you noticed that there's no heat sinks? There's no fans. I have not seen any mention about that. And I
yeah,
don't know about the Snapdragon, but dude, the rock chip, we know that that runs hot. Okay.
well,
I
I honestly, all the testing that I've done on the RK3588, because of the architecture of this chip, because of that odd format of 3 chips, 3 cores here and that one extra, I have no idea what the temps would be.
It runs hot. Trust me.
Well, I have my case on my Orange Pi 5. Stock settings is about 27-30 degrees Celsius. When I got up to PS2 before I added thermal paste, I got up to about maybe 62 degrees Celsius. Dropped that down to about 55. With this, I literally have no idea what the temps may be. There's no heat sink. There's no fan. You're right. There's nothing mentioned on this.
Okay. Um, so not this board, but okay. I do a lot of stuff with Banana Pi.
Right.
They have released an awesome board, and I don't mean to take away from this board, but their M7 Pro, awesome board. I freaking love it. They released a case for it. The minute I put the board into the case, even though the case is metal and it's designed for to pull the heat away,
Right.
it shuts down. I pull the board out of the case, works perfect.
Yeah, because it traps in heat.
Yeah, and so no, dude. So if you get one, I'd love to hear what goes on with this. I know it'll be a while before I get one, but again, my concern, if I were to get one, is there's no case. I don't see. Maybe it's in the FQAs. I'll go read up on it, but I want to
Pull it up right
see
here.
if there's anything about heat, because even the Raspberry Pi 5. Did you start using it before you got an active cooler, or did you wait to get an active cooler before you start using it?
The Raspberry Pi 5.
Yeah.
So there were a couple of other devs that got it before me. They compiled for 3 days straight, and it got
Mm-hmm.
up to like 70 something degrees Celsius.
Dude,
Out,
that's
out,
outrageous.
out of the case. So I don't know if you saw my Raspberry Pi 5 case video, the one I released months ago. It got a lot of
I
backlash.
saw where you made it waterproof and dunked it in water, and I was like, wow,
Yeah,
okay.
not that one, but it was about that plastic case, the defaulted $9 case that I got from Micro Center. The defaulted case they sell for the Raspberry Pi 5. And my gripe was this: is that
The white.
yeah, the white that white and red one. My biggest gripe was I thought I could add 2 fans. I thought I could add the active cooler, plus I thought I could add the extra fan because I know how hot it could get when you're in
Mm-hmm.
development and using it with PlayStation 2 emulation. A lot of these other people aren't familiar with how hot it can get under various circumstances. So when I was looking at the case and figured out, well, gee, I thought I could use both as either one or the other, I was pissed about it because I know how much cooling it needs, especially if it's going in an enclosed environment. The temperatures are just slowly going to start rising. So, yeah, there were
Let
some
me
other guys who had the active cooler on there, but it was in an open air environment, and they were still getting up to 70 degrees.
All right. Let me show you something. Okay. I'm gonna switch cameras real quick. But yeah, I know that people are probably saying right now, me and you are nitpicking, but when you go to compile, when you're trying to run stuff and you are
Oops, what happened? I think he got disconnected here. Let me see. Tear up, I think you got disconnected. Yeah, what we're talking about is going back to these cases. You don't want your devices to. That's it. All right, go ahead. Go ahead and finish your point. I think you got disconnected.
yeah, I was trying to switch cameras. It's I have up here. You can see a bunch of antennas. Uh, I was going to show you my Odroid M1 because you're talking about cooling, right?
Right.
I actually bought a 90 millimeter USB fan that sits up underneath it, blows cool air up onto the heat sink. It's a great board with the case. There's no fan inside. They use that heat sink to because the CPU's on the bottom where the heat
Right.
sink is, but it's hot. So, but yeah, that's what I was going to show you. Go ahead and finish your point.
Yeah, you gotta have good cooling on these things. And somebody was asking me questions even about the Ratza X4. I'm gonna post my reviews here in the next few days. Is because what I look for when I'm working with different operating systems is I need to know my threshold. So like if the Supreme team releases something and let's say we have two different bases. Let's say one comes back at 40 degrees and the other one comes at 27. And that's just to start using the same cooler, same setup. I need to know what my threshold is so that way when I start running something demanding, I'm not throttling. If somebody reports an error, like right now, if somebody loads up, let's say a Supreme build or whatever on a particular board, and they say, well, the error is coming in at 50, I'm going to say, well, you need to add some thermal paste or some active cooler because I need to know all of those baselines for anything that I'm working with. So, like, even right now, my Raspberry Pi 5, I have an open air case. I use thermal paste with the active cooler. My temps are 27 degrees Celsius. It's lower than most of these other cases that are out there claiming that they're going to solve the cooling problem. And so you just need to know that if you're running something very demanding. Bench tests, video gaming, emulation, you need to know what your cooling solutions are.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I totally agree with you on there because um, the one thing that I guess a lot of people don't realize, the heat can do two things. It can kill your storage, okay, because they're not really designed to run in a lot of hot, and you're shortening the life of
Mm-hmm.
the board, okay. And uh, think
And
about
then,
this.
and then, not to interrupt you, but you also need to know if it's the operating system. Is the operating system causing it to run a little hotter, or is it the board itself because you didn't add a um, adequate heatsink or something to it?
Yeah, but no. So yeah, this Tachyon, it looks awesome. $150 to get a small board computer with uh, G5. Okay, and for those of you that don't know what that is your cell phone. That this board actually comes with wireless connectivity. So you again, like we were talking earlier, it'd be great. You can use that out in the wild and stuff like that. It's awesome, but take it from me, and I know you agree with me on this. If you don't have the accessories to protect it or to really use it, you're kind of throwing money to the wind.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't see anybody here in the comment section that brought up any of the points we kind of mentioned.
And I get so sick of everybody. It's a pie killer. Um. uh, well, first of all, you can't compare a lot of this stuff. Maybe we can have this discussion another day about the four main ARM, um, processes out there. But to me, the Broadcom chip is getting long in the tooth.
Right.
Rock chip is smoking them. Um, I still, like I told you earlier this week, I don't get the release of the 2 gig Raspberry Pi board, but
Yeah, that's definitely a story for another day. With
yeah,
like
but
why, like why?
but anyway, yeah, I just don't get it. But no, the Snapdragon, the Rock chip, those are awesome ones, and we'll have to see where this goes. Now, have you ever done a Kickstart? Because I never have, because I've had friends in the past who sponsored a Kickstart, and once a year, I go to Southeast Linux Fest. I think I told you this, and I'll see them a couple years later, and they'll have some cool watch, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool watch. Yeah, I paid for this like 2-3 years ago on a Kickstarter, and I just got it. And then you're thinking, in 2 to 3 years' time, your watch and all that is somewhat outdated because
Right.
the technology. And I don't see how. I hope this gets released quick, okay?
Yeah,
But it just
yeah.
concerns me because it's a Kickstarter.
Yeah, personally, I've never done a Kickstarter. I do have one device here in the house that was a part of the Kickstarter. That was a send-in light gun. There have been other various similar light guns and other retro gaming technology that's come across through Kickstarters. There was also the one-shot light gun they sent to me, and then they abandoned it. People had paid their money, then they abandoned it, and I think now they're back in the market. But you had so many people for like over a year and a half, almost 2 years, wondering, well, what happened to my $500 or $600? And they didn't weren't answering any questions on Facebook, on their Discord. I sent a number of emails out, and I never, even to this day, I still haven't gotten a response. And they sent me one for review after that. So my thing though with Kickstarters is, I get it. I get it's a form of funding. I get it's a form of backing. I would like to see companies or entities invest more in their product because they don't have it. Usually these Kickstarters, like IR company went out of business. They, the money was all funded to them, and then they went out of business like maybe a year and a half, 2 years after release. So some of these companies, and I'm not talking about Tachyon, I'm just saying some companies, they use this to kind of test the market and use it to front the money for their business cost. Rather, they don't have any product ready.
Well, one of the major companies, a company that makes computer accessories, mice, keyboards, and cameras. I reached out to them because they had this really cool camera system,
Right.
and they wrote back and they're like, "Yeah, if you want to test it, sponsor the Kickstarter." And I'm thinking, this is a $1 billion company. Why are they doing a Kickstart? But anyway,
Right.
we're digressing. But I just wanted to ask you that because, like I said, I hope this is successful, but as you pointed out with the $500 stuff and the boards and with the light guns and stuff like that, it concerns me. But if this does get released, I really do hope they get a case, they get a fan. Who knows? Hell, ETA Prime probably already has one, and he's getting ready to do his cookie cutter review. I'm sorry. I know that's cynical, but how many times have we seen he's got a new product and it's always, you know, uh, you know, PPSSP, the PlayStation emulator, a couple other racing games and stuff like that. And if you want to see another OS, let them know, and you do, and you never see it.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I reached out to the UE2 company, because I knew what that board could fully do, as far as full potential, and I haven't seen it anywhere. Like as far as like techno-paired, several other things that you could do, like the things that are typically out of the norm as far as what people are looking for in the gaming community. And I was licking my chops. I was like, man, I gotta have that board because I know exactly what it could do and what it would mean to a lot of people. And I was just really excited, that the company actually sent me that.
Dude, it is an awesome board. I have all three of their boards because This is the YY 3500. I know it's got 2 numbers behind, but this was really cool. I love playing with it. I actually got Android working on this. It was nice. Like you, I have the R1. I really enjoyed the R1. Um, I really wish I could get a version 3, but knowing you, you'll probably get a version 3. I still have the version 1. And the nice thing about the guys at UUE2 is they took feedback, because I think I wasn't the only one who kind of complained that the 2242 MVNE was kind of being blocked by the peg.
Okay.
So yeah. Here, hold on. I took off my MVNE, but if you put the NVNE, you had to take off the stand because it was hitting it, because they're like so close. And the new version 3 actually uses a 2280, a full board. But speaking about the X1, dude, I would love to see them release a board with 2 Ethernet NICs, and that's just because, like the Zima board,
Right.
I think if they released it, people would use it for either OpenSense or PFSense. It would be a great little, or hell, even open WRT. You're opening up for more people. You could use any of these boards now. Excuse me. But you have to add a USB device to it. So
Yeah, the UU2 I think just needs more advertisement. I don't think that the X1 gets the word out, the advertisement that it should, because that is a phenomenal board. That is a great, excellent price point. The accessories that it comes with, the features that it has. I mean, I've never, even now, where are you going to find a single board computer that has a digital and an analog microphone on it? Like, who the hell puts a microphone on a single board computer?
Well, and true. Who releases a board with 128 eMMC local and 16 gigs? I mean, you know what pisses me off about the Ratsa? Okay, I have 3 of these. None, I can never get one with eMMC because they sell out quick. I bet on your X4,
Right.
you got an eMMC on there, and you're probably using NVMe storage on those. Okay.
On mine's, because I have not the one that they sent me. That one didn't have eMMC because they sent me a 4 gig model for the Ratsa X4. But I bought two 8 GB RAM versions, and I made sure I got the 64 GB eMMCs.
Yeah. See.
But I never use the M.2 when I'm using eMMC.
I on my X1, because it came pre-installed with Windows 10. I keep Windows 10 on there, but I'm running Proxmox still on the NVMe. So I got my BIOS set up to run it. I need to buy a new monitor because I want to get that the DPI monitor that they offer for that board. I'd like to make a little portable, portable lab. I mean, you saw my 10-inch rack that I took.
Right.
So I really would like something on that. So anyway.
Yeah. So pretty much on these boards, again, I love the X1, the Tachyon. Again, I think they need to advertise what the board can do, and $219 or so, that's kind of pricey considering you're not getting any other accessories with it. And I'm glad you really pointed that out. They haven't shown how you're supposed to cool this. I don't see an option for an SD card, so obviously this is probably just eMMC storage, or you use whatever you want externally. But let me turn that off again. But yeah, not having a case for this, I can tell you that has been a deal breaker for a lot of devs in the community that don't want to possibly damage a nice board.
Right. I mean, especially with the investment that you put in, it's not only time, but a lot of the money that you put into these boards, because
And
these
this,
board.
yeah, and this isn't a Raspberry Pi where you can say, "Oh, let me just go pay $35, run around the corner to the store at Micro Center or Best Buy, and I'll be back up and running if something happens." This is a special order, $220.
Yep. Hey, one favor, okay? Because I know you have your fans and all that. Um, when you can, give me the link, because I want to share this conversation out with the people that I normally talk with, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Because like I said, me and you, we've had a lot of good conversations. Um, I want us to continue doing this talks like this. Maybe we could just have a one night where we just talk about some other stuff. You know, but this was fun. Unfortunately, I'm going to need to drop because
No,
if you heard the Facebook pings, work never goes away.
right.
One of the things that I learned how to do 2 years ago, and I'm trying to get one of the guys on my team. He's a real smart guy. Is Docker containment builds, and he was pinging me, going, "Yeah, we did a deployment, but we're not seeing why it's not coming up. So I need to go help them out real quick." But no, this has been fun, dude. I wish Particle good luck with this. I really do hope they release it soon.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm psyched because I've been talking to the owner of Ameridroid about a 4G card, because some of these devices, you can even buy hats for like the Raspberry Pi where you can run a 4G on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to be able, since I'm going to be traveling, to be able to have a little system that I could just fire up. Think of it in this sense as like if you have an iPad that you bought from Verizon or T-Mobile, that it can, it has the LTE card built into it. So, like the retro gaming, like you're talking about, how cool would that be that you go to a party, you fire it up, and it's like, oh, well, I need to get this, particular file. It's at the house. 1 second.
Right.
I got it. Let's go, guys. Where, now it'd be like, let me turn on my hotspot, let me connect, and let's pray to God it's fast. But no, I think this is really going to be cool. Okay. And just from the photos, one last thing. It does look like they're using the new standard micro HDMI. So that's going to be cool. So people who do have like a Raspberry Pi 5 or 4, they know that they can grab that cable and they'll be good to go. I'm hoping. Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw somebody did kind of comment about the case. It looks like somebody canceled their pledge, but somebody did make mention of the fact about a case. So there are a few comments on there in the comment section if you want to check that out later.
Cool. Yeah, well, another pet peeve of mine, okay, and I know I'm a cranky old geek, but another pet peeve of mine is I really hope pretty soon that all these small board makers start standardizing on stuff. So like you said earlier, you could go to a Micro Center and grab something off the shelf and be able to use it, because right now it really sucks that, like you said, if you need a 12 volt barrel jack that's not the same polarization, you have to go look on places like AliExpress, and then pray to God it's a reputable vendor that you're ordering from, and that you can get it in 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, I tend to use Amazon because if I have an issue, I know at least they'll help me resolve it. knock on wood, I've been lucky with AliExpress, but we need to get to a point where we standardize on stuff where, cables, cases, and things like that. We can do that,
Definitely.
but
Looks
that's
like Yeah, it
yeah.
looks
Go
like
ahead.
somebody did comment. I think this is one of the owners of the company. They
Hmm.
said that this board performs well without cooling. I mean, I know it's the same kind of chipset, like you said, works in smartphones and stuff, but it says that the metal shielding acts as a heat spreader, so you don't need cooling.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah,
I'm
it
just gonna
depends on
say
what,
that.
and it depends on what OS you're running.
Yeah, I mean, you saw I got quiet. I'm like, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Because right now I can tell you on the X2 on the Ratchet X2L and the Ratchet X4, for example, Batacera starts out at about 53 degrees Celsius.
And isn't critical at 65 degrees Celsius?
On this, no, it's 80.
80? Oh, good,
Typically on an
good.
ARM board, single board computer, it's 80 before it reaches
Okay.
throttle. So, but still, it should be somewhere around 27.
Yeah, but dude, I don't run air conditioner and I live in Georgia. So yeah, I need the boards to run cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Well, look, it's been fun. You know, let's see where this goes. Okay.
Definitely, but we definitely want to thank TerraPup for giving us his knowledge today, for joining. We were trying to hook up for quite some time, and hopefully we could definitely do this again as well as talk about some of these things that are forgotten about. And
Yeah. Well, remember, I challenged you and Nico D. He's out of the Netherlands because I wanted us to each pick our favorite arm board, and he was doing a bike tour. I forgot what you were doing, but I ended up running that Banana Pi M7. But we've been talking ever since then, so it's cool, dude. I love the fact that we talk and we send stuff, and then I really love the fact that you've been giving some of the big name board reviewers hell about their reviews. Keep that up. I really want
well,
to see more.
yeah, well, some things is just I do everything from a test perspective, and everything in my opinion should kind of line up. We should kind of have like the same temps, or like what processes are you using. I'm a tester. Like everything that I have, I is based on a physical, actual test in terms of development. Now, if you're not happy with the results, then it's one thing, but at least you have proof to see what my methodology is. And like even for the Ratchet X4, I tested 4 different operating systems on that, for example. It wasn't just one. Or like when I've tested I look at other reviews, and I look at, like, let's say reviewers like you, Nico D, many others, and I take from that. Am I learning just to make sure we're on the same page, so to speak. So
Hmm.
I think some people may be existing in a bubble, and you need to do your homework. You always have to be in a situation where you're doing your homework and not get complacent with, well, these are my results. You know.
That's kind of why, unfortunately, I think ETA Prime has done wonders because he gets all the new stuff and he does show like the gaming stuff like you were talking about with this board. But uh, I've kind of stopped watching his videos because they are kind of cookie cutter,
Mm.
and I'm I'm starting to see that with a couple other big time people. Not as bad as him, but I have seen that some. So I'm hoping that's not the case with everybody.
Yeah, in these single board computer guys, it takes time. You can't floss this. Like my video reviews that come out are usually going to be 35, 40 minutes. There's no way to kind of break some of this stuff down like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, just hyping it up. You got to live this, so to speak.
Well, I agree with you. If you notice, my videos are 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, and I'm going super in depth. I'm talking about how to do this stuff. Even when I'm building a board, I had one guy. It's like, just build the board and do it in fast, super fast, motion. I don't mind doing that, but if like,
Right, right.
if you're having problems like I do trying to connect these tiny little antenna connectors to a board. You want to show people I've actually broke antennas. So there's got to be a right and wrong way. But no, I want people to learn. In fact, one of the things, you mentioned to me, and I've taken your recommendation to heart, is I'm wanting to start teaching Linux, and I'm going to do it through Patreon. And then after so many months, release it to YouTube, because I have actually had people ping me saying, "Teach me."
Yeah.
So I'm doing something right that people are saying, "Hey, teach me." So I really do want to do that, but I'm still getting pinged. So I hate to do this to you, man. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't getting pinged by work. So.
All right, Terra Pup, we definitely
All right.
glad you were able to join. And guys, that will pretty much conclude our live stream. But yeah, it's been really fun. We're going to have him back. Maybe get some Nico D or some other guys on here too, because I have reached out to some of the other people that I've known on the low key, and a lot of these guys will probably have 5,000 subscribers and under. Those are the ones I really like to watch. Other than, there's some other guys too, but they live this stuff, do it daily, and dive in, elbow grease and all, into some of these boards. And they will have disagreements with some of the stuff that's said mainstream because they're in it. They're the ones developing programs, but guess what? They're always the individuals that never get the products first, and their opinion is kind of counted to the wayside because another narrative has already been created. And so really it's not fair, and that's why I've partnered with other people, the devs, to try to get the equipment out there first, because you're not going to know what some of these boards can do unless you're truly in development and you're truly the ones putting stuff out. I live by that rule. We really don't know what a lot of these ARM-based boards can do until we have actual development. But Terra Pup is a developer. He's been nice to have here on the channel and get his insight, and we can't wait to see what else comes out. Hopefully maybe they send you a board too. So
I can only pray. I mean, I've been lucky so far that Banana Pie, UE2 have worked. And believe it or not, on my channel, guys, a lot of this stuff you'll see me do is out of pocket, which right now it lets me be a little bit more open. I don't have to worry about upsetting someone sending me a board. So in a way, I kind of like that because, we've been talking about Ratsa, right?
Right.
I like the X2L. You recommended that board. I picked, like I said, I have 3. I have a 4 gig and 2 8 gigs. It's not bad. I have several of the Rock 5s.
Right.
Am I running the Rock 5s? No. I'm running the Orange Pi 5s. I prefer them because they seem to, be a better board. And I can honestly say that without worrying about someone getting mad saying, we're never going to give you something else, because I paid out of pocket for those. So for right now, yeah. And then I get to do cool, weird things like putting an Orange Pi into Desk Pi cubicle. This is actually for a Raspberry C4. So I do weird things where I'm trying to, again, I want standardization. So if someone's making an accessory, let me see if I can get other products to work with it.
True.
But all right, man. Thank you. Thanks again for having me. And send me the link. I want to share this out with people, and let's keep talking. Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us today. We will catch you guys later. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you want to, please join my Patreon, Keel Daikin. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.